So your lessons are stale, your students are starting to get bored and becoming difficult to manage, and you're completely burnt out. Maybe it's because your Latin stinks. What's up? I'm in one of my favorite places in the whole wide world, a hotel, and I'm here to tell you why I think your Latin stinks. Maybe. This video is addressed specifically to teachers of classical languages or of Latin, although if you're a student you may also find some kind of benefit here as well, but this is addressed to teachers. And the thesis or my argument that I want to make is that you should spend less time dealing with the more mundane tasks of grading and finding the right textbook and implementing textbooks correctly and pedagogical techniques, and you should spend more time developing the thing that you are there to teach, developing your skill in Latin or whatever it is. I think the thing that I'm going to talk about here today can apply to all different kinds of subjects, but I teach Latin, so that's what I'm going to talk about. You should spend more time getting better at the thing that you are there to teach. And I say this, or this idea popped into my head because I had gone through an experience that made me realize that the more time that I spent getting better at the craft, the better the whole process became. And I found that I was using, searching for pedagogical techniques, what's the best textbook, how to apply this, what's the best teaching method, as a kind of crutch or a way to fill gaps in my knowledge, kind of. And as soon as I got rid of that stuff and started focusing more on how to become better at Latin, I became a better teacher. And the reason I think that happened is that I was actually, the thing that I wanted to do the whole time was to read Latin, but when you are over here and you're focused on having to get grades back and you're focused on parent communication and things like that, all of the like little trivial mundane tasks that you have to do as a teacher. I'm not saying they're not important and that you shouldn't do them, but it's really easy to get kind of wound up in them, and they can consume a lot of your time. So when I was first teaching, the day-to-day routine was you go into class, you give the students an assignment, you collect the assignment maybe from the night before, you go home yourself that night, you spend hours grading that assignment, and then you wake up the next morning and you finish grading the assignments you didn't have time to grade the night before, and then you spend a bunch of time preparing your lesson, and then you go into class, you give back the assignments, and then you collect the new ones, and it's like, it's rinse and repeat. And you have no time to actually study and do the thing that maybe you got into the business of teaching to do, is because you really love a certain subject, but you never actually get the opportunity to practice or exercise that skill. And so once I came to the realization that a lot of that stuff is actually not necessary, or like 90-80% of it was not necessary, I was able to focus more on my craft. And by doing so, I was able to give a little bit more of a twist or a sense of like a little bit more creativity and intrigue, I guess, into the classroom for my students, so that they're no longer bogged down in like the dryness of a textbook or the dryness of an assignment that's already been pre-rendered for them. I got to add, because my knowledge of the subject matter was growing, I was able to come up with my own assignments and interesting ways to introduce new subjects myself on my own, and that added a little bit of like personal flair or creativity that I think helped interest the students in what we were doing and engage them more. And so by being able to have that time to study and do the thing that I like, which is Latin, I was a lot happier. And the students were a lot happier because the class itself was a little bit more enjoyable. I wasn't focused so much on all the grading and assignments and lesson planning, and I was focused more on delivering a good Latin classroom experience for the students. And that completely changed my perspective on teaching and Latin in general. And I realized also that there was so much in Latin that I didn't know, despite thinking that I knew quite a bit. And this is a really easy like trap to fall into, not just with Latin, but with any subject. But I think with Latin, especially in classical languages, it's really easy to get a big head, because I think this might be kind of controversial, but I think that our standards for classical languages in colleges and universities have gone so low that once, say, anybody learns like the basics or the fundamentals, it's like that person knows everything there is to know about Latin, and that's not the case at all. The amount of stuff you can learn in any subject matter is probably almost infinite, but I find that in Latin especially, the more you go, the more there is to discover that you don't know. And that's great. So there's always something new to learn, and I think that that's something that you have to discover, is that you don't know everything. Despite maybe the difference in knowledge between you and the students being quite a bit, like you coming in as a first-year teacher in Latin probably know significantly more Latin than any of the students in the classroom. But that doesn't mean that you're knowledgeable in your subject matter. It just means that you know the fundamentals of Latin. So my exhortation is to not get so bogged down in the mundane tasks of grading and of lesson planning and all of the mundane tasks that teachers have to do. As important as they are, I'm not saying you should give them up completely, but don't get so wrapped up in them, and spend some time actually getting better at the thing that you are there to teach, that you are expected to be maybe not the master of, but certainly very knowledgeable of as a teacher in the classroom of that subject matter. Spend time getting better at that, and I think that you'll see an improvement in the way that your class goes. And I think that we use those things as ways we use textbooks and like textbook research and things like that because things are not going so great in our classroom, and we're looking, as we should, to figure out how to make things better. And it's a little bit counterintuitive to not think about those things and to focus on getting better at your craft. So that's my exhortation. I hope it wasn't too long. So anyway, I hope things are going well for you. And if they're not going well right now as a teacher, just know that it is difficult in the beginning. Like there's no amount of like YouTube videos you can listen to or podcasts or instruction that you get that's going to make the first year that you're teaching a breeze. It's going to be hard, and you have to kind of figure things out for yourself. But anyway, if they're not easy right now, I hope that they get better. And I know that they will if you are dedicated to making the best learning environment that you can for your students. And that's it. So thanks for tuning in, and I hope you found something of value in the last 5 minutes. And if you did, please consider hitting the subscribe button and the bell to notify you when we upload new videos. It really helps us, and we'd really appreciate it. And I guess we'll see you in the next video. Take care.